Hey, welcome back to ZK Master Tech. So, Ben's got the chassis harness all done on this 8400R. Hopefully he's got all the electrical gremlins out of this thing and all the rodent damage fixed. So, today, it's now, well, it's mid-afternoon now that I'm starting this video. But anyway, I got caught up and I'm going to help Ben put the cap back on because he's ready to put that on. So, let's get into it. You ready to rock, man?
I am indeed.
I will be the best forklift operator you've ever seen.
Oh boy. Okay.
You like that?
I like it. Ow, it smashed my finger.
How'd that feel for you?
Been on first. Damn sure won't be the last.
Don't you love the amount of Loctite they put on those?
I don't think it's enough.
They like drown it.
Let me get these clamps bolted in and then should be able to set her down, church.
Sure. Take your time, Ben.
Guess we're just gonna do what you want to do. Can you pick back up a skosh? I gotta connect this hydraulic line.
Gotta go up a skosh?
Skoshy skosh.
That's all you wanted, huh? That was a skosh.
Is that the line that you forgot to take off?
Yes. Oh, right in the ding ding.
That was a good throw.
Ha!
It still scared him.
I don't think you. I don't think you expected it very much.
You should have stuck it in his ear.
Please don't. I suffer enough.
No.
You having trouble, Ben?
I'm befuddled by
What hose is that?
the hose of doom.
Well, I'm gathering
The
that.
one that you forgot to take off last time?
Yes, Patty, it is. Shut up.
What are you doing, Ben?
Nothing.
Are you struggling?
No. The struggle is over. I'm a free man.
Like, why would they put hydraulic line where you can't get it unless the cab is like 5 inches in the air?
There's an engineer snickering somewhere in a break room thinking, look where I put this.
It's like, oh, well, you're supposed to take up the whole entire cab floor to get to that.
For a drain, because it's a drain. Like, why?
Couldn't you have taken it off down there and then just let the hose hang?
We tried.
You tried?
Patty and I tried getting that squeezed and pulled up. It was,
Not coming out?
well, honestly, Patty did that. He opted to do it this way.
Oh, so...
Because this was the hose I forgot to take off.
Patty's decision.
Well, my input was nigh.
I see how that went down. Yeah, so we gotta get these hoses
Oh, no.
connected. Don't drop your caps. Get those connected, and then we can set it down on all the bolts. Of
Oh,
course, we're gonna have
really?
the back two start.
Story of my life. Too short.
You go down just a skosh.
Yeah. Got to trim the shrubs, make it look bigger.
All right, get these bolts off. meant. Well, Ben's got all the cab mount bolts tightened and all the hoses underneath where they need to go. He's working on the brake and steering valve connections, and I thought, you know, I'll put back together all these electrical connections that I wasn't part of at all. What could go wrong? Steering controller, check. Giant chassis. Rear chassis controller. Okay. Somehow, I've got to get all of this onto there. Help a guy understand this. Okay. I got it all done. Ben said I got an A+. A+?
A plus.
A+. Sweet. You're what?
I said I'm currently flunking geometry.
Geometry?
Can't get the right angle on this. My hand is too
You even got the cable pliers? Oh, I see. Oh, don't you hate that?
Oh, it's not fun.
When it won't expand big enough to go back over the hose?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm about to rip them off and do it from another angle.
Yeah, I hate when that happens. Spring clamps suck. It's a good area to be in.
It's a lot of fun. Should have had you do this.
Me? Why me?
I don't know. Spent a lot of
You
time
told me
in
to
this
put the
particular
rear
facility.
electrical on, and I did it. You're welcome. Okay, so me and Ben were able to get that tractor back together. I had to leave after I got all the electrical on the back of the cab, and I had to go work on an 8R410 that had a clogged evaporator core. The filter had gotten damaged and somehow deleted, and customer ran it and plugged the evaporator core and didn't have no more air blowing out the vents, so I had to pull the whole entire HVAC module out behind the seat. It was a big major ordeal, but I got that job fixed, and then in the meantime, Ben got that tractor back together and everything worked. So that tractor is now gone. It's living its happy days back on the farm. Everything's cherry there. So next project here, out in the country, I've got an 8R370 here at a good customer's place of mine here. And we're going to be working on the ILS drive shaft, the output bearings. There was a leak on the MFWD output in the ILS, and I got to prying around, and the bearings are loose in the MFWD cover. The drive shaft's got a lot of play in it, and then there's also a little bit of movement where the drive shaft goes into the steering knuckle as well. So, and it's on both sides, but the left side's actually bad enough to where it's leaking. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the suspension up, and then I'm going to put a jack under the front end, then I'm going to release the ILS pressure. You guys seen me do that before, so no surprises there. And then I'm going to take the fender off, and then I'm going to take the tires off, and then we'll take the ILS drive shaft out. We'll take the ILS hydraulic cylinder off. And this time, I don't know if you guys watched a previous video, I'll put a link up here. I've already done this job, I've shown it before, but we're going to try something different this time. We're not going to completely remove the steering knuckle and the lower control arm. We're going to leave the upper and lower control arm ball joints connected to the knuckle. And we're just going to pull the lower control arm out and kind of suspend it with a jack in order to get that MFWD output housing on and off. So we're going to start that today. I got to get the oil drained out of the front end here and get it jacked up and get these tires off. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is get this fender off of here. Now I'm going to straighten the wheels and get the ILS raised up here. Got it jacked up now. All right. So I got the front end supported. ILS pressure down. I put a bottle jack on the lower control arm. Got it jacked up. I've got all the bolts on this first spacer out except for two. Now I'm gonna put my crane on here and hoist that bad boy off there. We're gonna start the truck up. Okay, tires are off. Got that supported. Right on, now I can get my jack out from under there. So now I'm gonna get the hydraulic lines off the ILS cylinder. Those are tight. Now I'm gonna pull this accumulator out of here, get it out of the way, because that bolt ain't gonna come out all the way if we don't. Just like that. The older I get, the more handy the wrench extenders are. Plus, you guys yell at me when I hit wrenches with my hands. I'm listening, okay? Alrighty. Take this bottom bolt out. See if we can't get these pried off. Oh, they're just falling off. That never happens. How about you just slide right off? Oh my gosh. It's a miracle. Wow. Cool. Now I can bring you guys in here, show you what I'm dealing with. Is that movement right there. You can see, you know, it's leaking, and this double cardigan joint is loose, and then it's loose inside there where it goes into the bearing. So next part is we're going to get this ILS drive shaft out. So we take the bolts out of the U-joint. I'm going to take this cap out right here. There's one bolt that holds the end of the drive shaft in there, and then I'll pull that drive shaft out. Zippity doo dah. 12 point, ½ inch. Uh-oh. We're going to have to delete extension or upgrade impacts. That a girl. I actually use a square, ½ inch square Sunex socket for these square plugs, instead of just jabbing a ½ inch drive in there. Oh baby, that was tight. Grab another bucket just in case it leaks out. Nope. No leakage. Got a 24 millimeter bolt in here. Nay. How about this big guy? All right. One thing to be careful of. There is a washer on this bolt. And you want it to come out with the bolt. Don't pull the bolt out with the washer because the washer will fall down in the final drive. And that's a bad day. So take your magnet. And it gets kind of suctioned in there from the oil. There we go. I'll pull it out like that. And yes, that does have red Loctite on it. Get off there. And pull it through. Just like that. So I supported the lower control arm there with a chain hoist. Well, that wasn't very tight. Taking the bolts out of the lower control arm here. What? That wasn't even tight. That was finger loose. What the heck? Boy, that's scary. I've never seen those be loose. Ever. Shake hands with danger. Big old long sucker. Got a special puller here. We're gonna pull this pin out. What are you in? Oh, the good old Kentucky do all it is. Alrighty. Is it really pulling that easy? Can I pull it out by hand? What? Well, I've never. Can a guy just wiggle it out? Nay. Now you can, in a pinch, you can thread a bolt in there and smack that bolt and try to beat it out that way, or air hammer on the bolt, and you can get them out that way if you don't have the special tool. Yeah. Looky there. Just pulled that sucker right out. It's my lucky day, fellas. I got a jack stand underneath this thing. I think if I change my lift point to here with the crane, that this will just go and fall down. I think. Ta-da! It's almost like I knew what I was doing. That worked like a dream. So then I guess when I go back together, I just switch my lift point to there and plop. So I got all the tension off. It's just sitting there on the jack stand, just perfect. Now, I think it's time to get this area all cleaned up before we yank that off. What do you say? And I put the accumulator back in so I can plug that hole. Everything's capped. We're good to go for blowy. And we'll get that all cleaned up. I'm going to take a couple bolts out. And I'm going to put some dowels in there. Take the rest of them out. I want just the housing to come off there. Finally, I think it's willing to cooperate with me here. On the other side of this, we've got a bearing and the diff lock piston. on that dowel at the top. There we go. And there you can see your diff lock clutches. That's where the bearing race goes in there. So it's difficult to get it off there because you're fighting these dowels. And it was, for some reason, it was just on those. That inner plate was on those dowels really, really tight. All right, so I got the cover off. There's your cover. There's your inner plate there. See, here's your diff lock piston, and the seals on it look perfect. Nothing wrong there. It just slips down in there like that. And you got your bearing. Then you've got an O-ring on this side. This goes towards the tractor, and then you've got a gasket that goes on that side. That's in between right here, this gasket right here. So, what we're going after is this bearing and seals right here. Yeah. So we've got a snap ring. Oh. Pretty sure there's a washer in here. You're not gonna come off. There's the washer. Here we got a Matco indexing seal puller. Wow. That sucker does not want to come out. Who wants to find out how tough it is? Why? Oh. Well, I bent the tip just a little bit, but the indexing part held up. Huh. You always got to test the strength of your new tools. We got another snap ring. That seal was in there now, let me tell you. Can we just tap you out? Yep. That thing's heavy. I'm going to clean this all up. Clean the gasket surface off. I got these two new razor blade scrapers from Matco. Haven't used this one yet, but check it out. It's an indexing scraper. I mean, how many times have you needed to do that? So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I've got this Matco scraper, and it's actually a strikeable razor blade scraper. And these Matco razor blades, I don't know, it says made in Taiwan, but let me tell you what, these razor blades are a lot better than your standard razor blade. It's got a longer taper on the edge, and they just seem to cut through gasket material a lot better, and they stay sharper longer, in my opinion. So I'm really digging the razor blades that come with these, and I can get replacements from the Matco guy. But how's it scrape? Not too bad. It's not doing too bad. It's definitely got a nice handle. So I'll get all these cleaned up, and then we'll work on putting new bearing and seals in this thing. So we got everything all cleaned up. So we're ready to put back together. And got a new bearing here. We're gonna stick it in a hole. 3 7/8 driver disc. Ting. There it is. Now, what do I do with that? I got a new snapper ring. That's a stiff one. I like putting just a little bit of sealer on these, just a little dab. I'm just using some anaerobic sealer, just a slight coating. Don't have to go crazy here. Got the fancy seal driver here. Seal installed. I gotta get this cleaned up. I forgot to get that cleaned up. I gotta get this seal off there and put a new one in so then we can shove that down in the hole. Got that seal off, got the shaft cleaned up. We got this seal that goes on there. And another special seal driver to install it. Alright, can't forget our washer. And then I got a new snap ring. Flip our snap ring pliers around. Oh, that's nice and tight. Yeah. I like it. I like it. It's good. And I noticed the factory had some anaerobic sealer on there, probably hold this O-ring in place, because I doubt it just stays in there super good. No, it does not stay in there super well. Squirts a little bit of it in there. It won't hurt nothing. Need something to help hold that thing in. How about that? Alright. And there's 5 little O-rings that fit in here. Everything looks good and clean. Right on. Now we can install that bad boy. Let's gently set this guy in. Oh, easy. Right there. Gently tap it in. Gently. Make sure you got all the holes lined up, because you can get that thing in there multiple ways where it won't freaking work. So now's the time. Double check yourself. You gotta make sure you clock this thing right too. It's gotta be it. The little red goes around the little oil holes there. Okay. Sometimes. Snugged. Alrighty. Now it's time to get the lower control arm back into place. Okay. So now, go down her just a little bit. We'll rehook to this point. You're just gonna do all kinds of weird stuff now, aren't you? I see how it is. Oh boy. Really wants to take it that way. Why? My plan was great coming apart. Not so much going back together. Okay, well, I'm sorry about that. My camera died. It ran out of batteries and died in the process of doing this. It took me a little longer than I expected. And by the time I got it all put back together, the camera was dead. So let me tell you what it did. Things didn't go according to plan. So it came apart awesome doing it that way. Going back together, no. That did not work with the crap. No matter what lift point I used, and I eventually had a strap on the lower control arm, I just couldn't get this whole assembly, which weighs about 800 pounds, to try to finagle it to where I could get these bolts started. And for whatever reason, these did not want to go on the dowels. It would on one side, not the other. Trying to get the bolts started. I finally got the bolts started in there and got that sandwiched in. Then I was able to come over here and put the pin in, and I got it set, and I've got it sitting on the jack stand right now. So now I can get my crane off here, because I actually got started on this project a little later in the morning than I wanted to, because I was waiting on parts. So I'm going to pack up for the day, but I got a lot of crap out. I've got a mess. It's just a mess. So I'm probably going to leave most of my stuff here and get my crane put away and get to where I can drive my truck back to the shop. And then we'll come back here in the morning and we'll continue to put the ILS drive shaft in. That's the next step. Well, first I'm going to torque the lower control arm bolts and stuff, and then we'll put the new ILS drive shaft in. And I got to come in this backside. I'm going to replace this seal and bearing inside here, which is the exact same parts that we put in there. So same special tools and everything. We'll get that bearing and seal replaced, put a new ILS drive shaft in, and then take that accumulator back out, put the cylinder back in, hook the lines up, put the accumulator back in, and then put the tires and everything back on. And then once that's all done, then we're going to take this tractor. It's got a high-speed planter on it right now. Big 1770 NT high speed. And so we're gonna have to take the planter off because we got to spin the tractor around, but also need planter off because we're going to be removing the rear duals, because this tire right here is set to 30 inches and the fuel tank has swelled out a little bit and it's rubbing the fuel tank, and it's going to rub a hole in the fuel tank if we don't fix it. So there is a fuel tank bracket pip that we're going to change a bracket out, but we're also going to fix the spacing. So I want the inside duals to be at like 31 and a half. and then we'll set the outside wheels. So we're gonna have to redo this whole entire rear wheel setup. So I need this planer off. So that's what we're gonna do after I get the other side rebuilt, because I gotta do the exact same thing I just did to this side over there. So I will see you guys in the morning. Good morning, and we're back. Did you guys check out that pheasant? I'll try to put that footage in there. Whenever I drove up to the farm, there was a pheasant just chilling in the grass. Didn't even care that I was there. He scurried off whenever I got out of the truck though, but pretty cool to see a pheasant. You don't see too many pheasants around Illinois anymore. Kill them coyotes, boys. Get on them. Anyway, so we're back here at the AR370. I got the drive shaft ready to go. I put a new slinger seal on the drive shaft's the same seal I put on that little stub shaft, and I put a new U-joint on there. I pounded the bearing and the seal out of here. I used a long punch bit on my air hammer and went through the hole and caught the bearing, and then I just drove it out. It's got the same style setup we had on the other side of the MFWD cover, so no surprises there. I'm going to drive a new bearing in, new seal in, and I'm going to get that shaft in there. Put a little red Loctite on the bolt that goes on the end of the shaft here. I'm just going to get it started in the threads. There we go. And then we'll get this started. You need a little tappy. You did need a little tappy. Now I will put blue Loctite on these. Torqued. That ain't going nowhere. Oh yeah, it's a lot better. A lot better. And I got that side all back together. Everything's all torqued up, ready to rock. Now I'm just gonna, I gotta hook the shield kind of back up, because that's where the suspension controller plugs in. There's a little connector hanging down, because I gotta raise the system back up so I can get my jack off there. Then I gotta move all my crap, and then we're gonna unhook the planer spin this tractor around, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side, and I'll bring you guys back in when I get the housing off, because there's a little bit of difference there because you don't have that big plate with the diff lock piston and all that. So it's a little easier on the other side, but it's the exact same procedure. So I'll bring you in once I get to that point. Okay, got all the tires off. I got another table, you know, things were getting out of hand with just the little one. And I got this side apart. There you got the MFWD cover there. I mean, that part looks the same, but this part's different right here. So you don't have that extra plate that you have to remove. This is part of the housing. The only other piece that you could really mess with is this little oil dam right here. So all I got to do is scrape the gasket off of that, scrape the gasket off of this, remove that snap ring and washer, pound the shaft through, pound the seal and bearing out of it, put new bearing and seal in, new snap ring, shaft, dowels, put the gasket on the dowels, put that onto there and torque it. There it is. Everything's all in there and torqued to spec, new gasket, ready to rock. Now I just got to get this lower control arm back up, torqued into place, and get all this on there. Okay, so I found the perfect combination to make this easier. So chain hoist to this point, boom, or strap to the hook there. Then you can kind of balance this motion and get it straight. And then you get it up high enough to where you can get a bottle jack underneath it and put on a lower control arm, plop, everything just falls into place. Nice. I've got the beast all back together again. Whew, what a workout. I worked hard and fast getting that thing back together. But unfortunately, I'm out of time for today. Tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to fix the rear dual spacing tire rubbing fuel tank fiasco. So hopefully I've got enough time in this video to show that. I'll be back tomorrow to get that done. All right, it's another lovely morning. I already got the rear duals off because I wanted to see what the heck's going on in here. See, look, it's rubbing into the fuel tank. See how this is bulging out a little bit? So there's a new bracket, that guy right there. So it's got that extra little arm to go right here and go, push that in. So then you could run a 30-inch spacing without rubbing the fuel tank with that bracket on. We're going to get that bracket on, but I'm still going to move this an inch this way and this one an inch because it's just too close. You can't even get your finger in between here and the tire and the fuel tank here. So it's just way too tight for my liking, and it doesn't need to be exactly 30. So I was reading the PIP and I've got to drain the rear axle because I got to take these lines off right here because they're blocking this bracket from being able to get in and out. Now they want you to take these lines all the way out, and they go behind the fuel tank and then go into the transmission area in there. And then they got a new line that they want you to replace the one closest to the bracket. So I know I at least need to get this line out, but do we have to remove these two to get that one out? I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the rear axle and get those line connections apart, get that one line out, and get that bracket off, new bracket in, and install a new line. All right, so I got the 3 lines loose there at the side of the transmission. And then I took this little access panel off right here. And then there's a clamp. Can you see it? Yeah, there you can kind of focus. Yeah, there's a clamp in there. So use my indexing bar to pop those lines out of the clamp. Got them off there at the pump. Now I'm gonna at least pull that one line out. This line right here, I'm gonna try to get it all the way out. Oh, there's another clamp right there I gotta pop the lines out of. And these hopefully will flex enough to where I can get this bracket out. So I went ahead and pulled the lines out. They came out super easy once I got them unclamped. So I just got them out of the way, and then I installed this new bracket. It's even thicker than the original, so you got to use a longer bolt right there. And it sucked it in like, I don't know, probably a good ½ inch. But just right here, this part here is still bulged out. I don't know if eventually it'll work itself in, but it's putting quite a bit of pressure. It pushed in about a ½ inch, like I said, but I still think it's going to be an issue rubbing right here. So I'm definitely going to be moving this spacing out a little bit, because, you know, if you've got mud on the tires, that mud's constantly scraping on that plastic, and eventually it'll rub a hole in it, and we don't want to do that. But that does, I will say this is necessary, because that tank does bulge out right there. That bracket is a lot beefier, and it does secure the tank back a lot better than the original one. So I do recommend actually putting that in. Now I've got to install one new line and then put the two other ones, the original ones, back in. All right, got the lines in. So that new one is bent differently to compensate for the thicker bracket right there, and then on the other end there's actually a rubber end that goes onto the transmission. But it wasn't too bad fishing those lines in and out of there. A lot better than I thought it was going to be. So now I'm going to get the inner dual on here, and then I'm going to take the wedge bolts loose, take this outside wedge off, and then, you know, get that tire mounted on there so that I can put a forklift on it and a strap, loosen the wedge bolts, and then I'm going to move it out an inch, and then lock it down, torque all the hub bolts, put this back on, move it an inch out from where it was, and torque it all back down. All right, I got everything set where it needs to be. Like I said, I just moved everything an inch on each side, but it's a bigger job than you think it is. I mean, it's a lot of work torquing all them hub bolts there. So got all that done. Now there's plenty of room in between the tire and the fuel tank. I don't know, probably about that much instead of less than a finger width before. So I did this side, and then I went ahead and moved the other side to match it. So I had to move the inside tire out an inch, and then I had to move the hub out an inch on both sides, but now it's symmetrical and we're not going to have any more problems. So now I'm going to hook the planter up to the tractor and get it all hooked up, make sure we got all the hoses in the right ports and all that good stuff, and then I'll be done here. But that's going to be all for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, comment below, let me know how I'm doing, and until next time, keep that green iron moving.